trade economic ties with Central Asian economies and beyond, INSTC is being seen as a key for articulating the future course of India's economic engagement with the region. For our audience, we would like to illustrate that the international north-south transport corridor is a 200-kilometer long, multimodal transport route of rail, ship, and road connecting Indian Ocean and Persian Gulf to the Caspian Sea via Iran to Russia and Northeastern Europe. In September 2000, INSTC was initiated by India, Russia, and Iran to facilitate seamless movement of goods and commodities for further enhancing connectivity along the INSTC corridor. An intergovernmental agreement on the same was eventually signed in St. Petersburg and ratified by three countries and came into force on May 16, 2002. Other member countries that joined the INSTC include Azerbaijan, Armenia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyz Republic, Oman, Syria, Kazakhstan, Turkey, Ukraine, and Bulgaria as the observer status. So during the 7th INSTC Coordination Council meeting, we understand, which was organized in March 2019 in Tehran, a number of key decisions were made to activate the corridor. So all those key stakeholders who were present, who steered this initiative last year, are present today. And we are indeed fortunate to have Mr. B.P. Swain, Special Secretary, Department of Commerce, Minister of Commerce and Industry, Government of India, and Ambassador Verma, who have been instrumental in steering the dialogue with key stakeholders apart from other agencies, early operationalization of the corridor, as our distinguished speakers today. Due to other pressing commitments, Indian Embassy in Iran could not join us today, but we are sure that we have this support anyway. So I would now request Mr. Mani Singhal, Deputy Secretary General and Head PQ International, to present his welcome remarks. Mr. Singhal, please.
Thank you, Rohit. Thanks also for sharing a background of the INSTC. Ambassador Verma, always a pleasure to join with you again. Special Secretary, Mr. Swain, sir, thanks again for joining us. Pleasure to interact with you. Of course, we were really wanting to meet you physically. Let's hope it happens soon. Mr. Valal, Ambassador of India to Azerbaijan, senior officials of Government of India, business leaders from Russia, India, and of course some other countries, Azerbaijan, I think. Welcome you all. Before I start, let me again do my customary thanks to the indomitable spirit of our frontline COVID warriors in all our countries. You know, they've been courageously and cautiously working to bring situation under control for us. And I talk of not only the healthcare workers, but even the security people who've been so far keeping things somewhat under check. Maybe we all wanted to be better, but I think they are fighting a real war right now. In this backdrop, Ambassador Verma, Mr. Swain, Mr. Valnal Vavna, all participants, I think it's very apt to talk about a very strategic and a futuristic initiative of our government in terms of the International North-South Transport Corridor. We call it the INSTC in short. And really how to look at it in the post-COVID situation, where focus on trade will be all the more higher. Countries will be wanting to get back as fast as possible in terms of trade. Just today, we saw India's exports going further down in May, vis-a-vis last year, April already they were down. So this situation has to reverse, and I'm sure all countries are looking at it. In this scenario, the INSTC, which was initially a trilateral treaty between India, Russia, and Iran, formally got support from 11 new members, which included Azerbaijan, Armenia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkey, Ukraine, Belarus, Oman, Syria, Bulgaria. And of course, we also look at spin-off benefit on strategic partners like Afghanistan for us. When we look at the INSTC, we have to look at the corridor in terms of being a real game changer when it comes to trade with big trading partners like Russia. And of course, in the process, like I mentioned, 11 other countries and maybe even Afghanistan tomorrow could greatly benefit. Now, this becomes a game changer for India because Central Asia and the Eurasian economies remain to be strategically very important for us. And INSTC gives that competitive advantage both in terms of lower costs and in terms of overall time when we trade with these countries. And when we talk of time saving, it's a huge amount of saving, which will in turn reduce the cost because you will be able to turn around your cargo much faster, and the same capital cost can be apportioned over a greater number of transactions. Let me give some numbers on the advantages about shipping time. Let's say we were to take the Suez Canal route for Russia, would come down from 45 to 60 days to 25 to 30 days. The freight itself is going to be about 30% cheaper, maybe about $2,500 for every 15 tons of cargo, which is typically a 20 feet container when it comes to Mumbai to Russia. And of course, the capacity of this corridor is built to be somewhere between 20 to 30 million tons of goods per year. So it's really a huge project. These advantages, of course, accrue once business does transact on this route. So today, if we talk of these costs, a lot of forwarders and freight companies would say, oh, they are likely to be higher. But then they are looking at the situation today and not when it's economically voluminous trade happens on this route. So when it comes to INSTC, I already mentioned that it connects us to countries which are strategically important. And when I mentioned that, it's largely also takes care of India's energy security and food security to an extent. From India-Russia standpoint, INSTC will improve our trade in non-defense sector. You know, currently the trade is about $8 million. This has to be taken to $30 billion as envisioned by our leaders. So INSTC could be a big game changer in that direction. And when we look at INSTC, while all good aspects are known to all of us and we anticipate all of them, as FICCI, we would like to put in 5 suggestions because we have the benefit of presence of both our Ministry of External Affairs and Ministry of Commerce and Industry. These 5 aspects basically relate to also creating a strong institutional mechanism, which also includes now the key industry members, which means people who would be doing the trade, logistics service providers, and even chambers. Government, of course, is already working at a fast pace on it. Similarly, to increase participation from private sector, another advantage would be that it would help to give opportunities for various countries contributing to this project, especially in view of the US sanctions on Iran and Russia. Participation from a lot of multinational corporations has weakened. So it's an opportunity for for these 12, 13 countries, the companies in these 12, 13 countries to build and contribute towards the infrastructure. We would also like to suggest as a third point that we should from day one look at a very high level of digitization and IoT applications so that the entire corridor is AI enabled, through e-platforms. And, there is a total contactless and seamless import export facilitation. I mean, being contactless, will be very in the post-COVID era. Fourth point, of course, is we to look at maybe in the second phase, building economic and social infrastructure around the corridor. Economic infrastructure, because this corridor being important can help to generate a lot of economic activity besides the transportation and logistics part of it. And social infrastructure, because wherever there is economic activity, you have to support it with social infrastructures, hospitals, education institutions, housing, so that people can move around the corridor to the corridor for enabling this economic activity. The fifth and the last point I would like to suggest is that connectivity with international corridors like with European Union, Baltic, Nordic regions could be another opportunity for the long-term viability of this corridor. And probably that could be the third phase of our work. With these words, not much to do because we have Mr. Swain who's been leading these discussions and efforts from India with support of all our missions in the countries mentioned. So I would leave it to him to explain as to how Indian industry and the industry in the other 11 eyes on. And with these three of you, Mr. Swain, Ambassador Verma, and Ambassador Vanlal Vabna, to join us here along with the participants. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Singhal. Thank you so much. We have taken note of your those specific inputs that you just talked about, and we'll be just working out those possibilities in collaboration with our embassy in Moscow and as well in Iran and with the Mr. office. Now we are indeed fortunate to have Mr. B.B. Swain, who is the Special Secretary of the Ministry of Commerce, who has been the key official in the government who has been driving this initiative and taking everybody, all the stakeholders along by ensuring the early operation of this corridor. So we have Mr. Swain's presence here. We would request now Mr. Swain to give his perspective on this possibility. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me, Mr. Sarma?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Singhal. Thank you, Mr. Sarma. My greetings to His Excellency D.B. Venkatesh Verma ji. Of course, my close friend as well. But His Excellency for absolutely being involved with this project. I can see number of friends on the screen. The screen on my screen it's a bit small, but I can spot Bina, Brinda, and George. I think they have just left. So my greetings to all, and including those I cannot spot very easily. His Excellency Vanlal Wana, Ambassador to Azerbaijan. I am very glad to see that Mr. Ravi Kumar joined us from Kankar, which is very, very crucial. And my old friend, Mr. Sarkar Singh, is also very much there on the screen. Those dignitaries whom I cannot see on the screen, my greetings, but I can spot Dev Sunita and Mrs. Alevitina Kirillova. So my greetings. It gives me a real pleasure to be part of this webinar organized by FICCI, Way Ahead Post COVID-19 for International North-South Transport Corridor. Mr. Singhal has already given a lot of data regarding its economic potential. I don't really want to repeat all that, but it has a potential of 20 to 30 million tons. This is what has been estimated. And Triple FAI actually ran a dry run in 2014. The data which we normally say that it could lead to the reduction of distance by about 40% and the reduction of cost by about 30% is one out of a dry run which was done in 2014. So quite obviously it's a very, very important initiative by India, Russia and Iran. Since 2000 when it was originally signed, today you have 14 countries which are its members with Bulgaria as an observer. The most important thing which happened last year was the 7th meeting of the INSTC Coordination Council and Expert Group meeting, which took place in Tehran on 4th March 2019. I personally think there are very, very crucial decisions which were taken in this particular meeting. This meeting, the minutes talked about a joint venture, multimodal transport corporate, which is where all the countries are to participate. It also talked about adoption of the TIR and ETIR mechanism for which negotiation was going on for some time. But this is the meeting where it was conclusively adopted that all countries will follow TIR and ETIR as far as INSTC is concerned. It was also decided to have a new test run for implementation of TIR convention and a meeting of the follow-up committee, and subsequently the 8th coordination council meeting was scheduled to be in Azerbaijan this year. I have been dealing with this subject for some time. Apart from the fact that there has been logistical issues regarding connectivity, issues regarding some part of the train track, some part of the road track. what has been very, very crucial in my discussion with the industry, and in particular the transport industry, the logistics industry, which is related with it, is that at the end point, it is the costing which will be the most crucial. Mr. Ravi Kumar will agree with me because he has been negotiating, I believe, the costing pattern as per their agreement with the Russian Railways. And it is the costing which the Indian exporter will have to pay. Quite obviously, will lead to the success of this particular project. Apart from the fact that, of course, minor issues regarding whatever is the gap in the logistics and all, sooner or later will fall into place. Quite a bit has been done over the years, and I'm quite sure it will fall into place. I attach great importance to the agreement which was signed by Kalkar with Russian Railways, because this is probably the first time something very, very concrete is happening. I'm aware that our embassy in Moscow played a big role in that. The agreement, I believe, was signed out in Moscow only, and an important meeting which was to take place, I think one important meeting took place in Baku, if I'm not mistaken, and there is a meeting which was scheduled actually here in Delhi, which unfortunately could not take place because of the pandemic issues, and I'm quite sure it will happen after some time. In the post-COVID scenario, I believe there are certain things which we need to do for INSTC, and very, very quickly. I think at all levels, at our individual levels, of course, from the ministries, the support has always been given, but we need to encourage Kalkar and Russian Railways now to put their plan into operation. This is very, very crucial because I think since the agreement was signed in 2000, way back in 2000, this is the first time something is happening which is very clearly can be seen on the ground. The whole plan out, the way Kalkar and Russian Railways has done, is very, very impressive. I think when Mr. Ravi Kumar would probably participate to tell us the exact Latin status of the issues, but I do attach great importance to the operationalization of the Concur agreement with Russian Railways. The second thing we definitely need to do is we had written to FFI, and I believe we will get a response, is regarding conducting a dry run again. It is perfectly possible. I had talked with Concur officials also on this. It is perfectly possible at some point of time we could probably combine our operations and make that dry run, which is essentially for operationalization of TIR and ETIR, which was adopted in the last meeting in Tehran. Put TIR and ETIR into operation immediately. Work towards the idea of a multimodal transport corporate. This is something again is going on. We are talking to different organizations, and this has tremendous scope and tremendous future. We need to have a follow-up meeting of the Tehran meeting, primarily because there are a number of significant issues which are taken up in Tehran and which needs now a proper follow-up meeting, which probably we could host in Delhi. And the coordination council in Azerbaijan, I would attach a lot of importance because now we are reaching a situation on which operationalizations will be possible. This was scheduled in 2020. I hope it takes place as quickly as possible, immediately after the pandemic problems are over. I would thank the organizations and all the participants for their kind attention. I have a meeting at 3 o'clock, so since I'm sitting in my office, I'll be leaving roughly around 2:45, 2:50. I'll be really looking forward to listening to all the eminent participants and the dignitaries who are joining this. And thank you so much. Thank you so much personally, from my personal behalf and from behalf of Ministry of Commerce. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Swain. Thank you so much for joining us today for this very important engagement that we had. We really want to get updated on what exactly is happening. And there are a lot of Indian companies, a lot of Indian logistic companies who are interested to understand how best and what's next for them to just start working on and activate on the possibilities which are emerging in that region. So thank you so much, sir, for joining us and for your very, very precise perspective on what we can expect from this corridor in the coming times post this coronavirus endemic. So thank you so much, sir. Now we have the presence of Ambassador Venkatesh Verma. He is a very seasoned diplomat and has been our ambassador to Spain before joining the office here in Moscow. And he was the first recipient of SKC for excellence in the Indian Foreign Services, and has been undertaking and spearheading a lot of India's initiatives in multilateral formats also. So we have done this, and thank you so much for your encouragement, Dr. Verma, for ensuring that we are sitting here and discussing this very important subject. So thank you so much, and over to you, sir.
Good afternoon to everyone. Warm greetings to Vicky and our appreciation for putting this webinar together. We always count on the excellent support that we get from Rohit and from Manish, and this is one more example of how productive our engagement with Vicky has always been. Our special thanks to Mr. Swain, Special Secretary, Ministry of Commerce. Without his support, his personal knowledge, his encouragement to all stakeholders, the North-South corridor cannot move forward. And we're very happy that today we've heard his presentation. Greetings also to my colleague in Azerbaijan, our colleagues from Russia, from the Russian Export Center, from the Russian Railways, Concor, and Freight Forwarders Associations. I mean, these are the essential stakeholders for the North-South corridor. The previous speakers have mentioned all the important points. From the embassy side, I will say 2-3 things. This is now the 20th anniversary year of the idea of the North-South corridor. It began in the year 2000. And India and Russia have been great advocates of this. They continue to be very strong supporters of this idea. But this idea itself has grown. And we have now a number of countries who have expressed strong support. So it is a very viable and, I must say, a popular international project. Third point is that in terms of implementation, there have been some significant progress. As Mr. Swain has said, the important objective for all of us now is to keep up the momentum. Keep up the momentum and the interest that is already there in operationalizing the North-South corridor. So let me focus on 2-3 ideas. One is that the next meeting of the Coordination Council, which is to take place in Azerbaijan, I think through our distinguished ambassador in Azerbaijan, I think we should encourage the Azeri side to see how quickly, given the limitations of the COVID pandemic, how quickly we can take this forward. First point. Second is that the adoption of the TIR and the Green Corridor finalization in India and Russia is yet another positive direction. It will further improve the viability and the attractiveness of the corridor. Third point, as Mr. Swain has said, I think the time has come for us to put these various incentives together and see how a trial run can be organized and how this trial run will be an improvement over the previous trial runs. And we would very much encourage the implementing agencies, the Russian Railways on the Russian side, Concor, which has now this excellent service agreement between our ZD and Concor, which was signed in February this year, to take this forward. It's again, the momentum is there. We just need to keep it up. Fourthly, I think we also, while looking at this, need to keep the stakeholder coordination alive, broader than just the 8th Coordination Committee meeting in Azerbaijan. So if Mr. Swain and Vicky agree, and all our other stakeholders and friends agree, the Embassy of India in Moscow is willing to organize towards the end of this year, and we can look at the dates in mutual consultation, a stakeholders conference, which is beyond the 8th Coordination Committee, which is basically a government-led body. But here we will call in business, the freight forwarders, the logistics people, the railways, the insurers, the shippers, all those stakeholders who have an interest in the North-South corridor, and the embassy will be very happy to organize this at towards the end of the year. Lastly, I think now that we are coming to the 20th year of the idea, we should give consideration on how we can advise our governments to have a timeline for a symbolic launch of the North-South corridor. Of course, there is some movement already taking place, and we are very happy to hear from FICCI and from others. We've also done some research. Despite all the limitations, so-called limitations, there's already a lot of freight movement. But I think symbolically, we need to take this forward, give it a proper name, look at how we can create awareness, improve awareness, and also incentivize from the regulatory side, from the customs side, from the shipping side, to see how we can give it an initial push so that later on the commercial interest will pick up and take it forward. Of course, a single joint venture company that can put all this together is probably the best vehicle to take it forward. But I think from the government side, we should continue to provide an enabling and an encouraging environment and give it the amount of profiling and political support, economic support, incentivized transportation, because this is a project, my feeling is, whose time has come. We are very thankful for FICCI to bringing us all together, and I'll be very happy to listen to the contributions of our other colleagues who have joined in this webinar. So warm greetings to all of you from Moscow.
Thank you so much, Mr. Verma, for your very precise input. We have taken note of your suggestions. We will be working with your office in terms of having this conference of stakeholders conference at the end of this 2020. This is a very specific takeaway for us to just further work on, and we'll be certainly working on this. Before we move ahead, we would like to especially thank Mr. Abdul Rahim Koldi, the CEO of Jabbar Trade Industrial Zone, who has also taken up time to join us for this webinar today. Since we all are aware that this zone is critical component for effectively operationalizing the corridor in the coming time. So once again, Mr. Koldi for joining us. And now we have the pleasure of inviting Mr. B. Vanlal Bhavna, Indian Ambassador to Mr. Azerbaijan, to make his intervention. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much, Rohit. Good afternoon, distinguished friends, ladies and gentlemen. Let me also begin by thanking FICCI for organizing today's very important and timely webinar, and for inviting me and my colleagues to be a part of it. I would also like to acknowledge my distinguished senior colleagues from the Department of Commerce, Sri B.B. Swain, Special Secretary. Sir, it's good to see you again. I had come and called on you before I joined my post here, and it's good to see you again today. I'd also like to acknowledge my senior colleague and a very distinguished ambassador in Moscow, Sri D.B. Venkatesh Verma, and all my colleagues in Moscow, Mr. Manish Singhal, DDG of FICCI, and all the other speakers. And I would like to thank all of you for your participation today. Like what speakers before me had said, I think we all agree that the INSTC, since its founding in 2000, holds great promise for regional connectivity and economic integration. From the time of its inception, as a country, India, I think, has always recognized the significance of the project and the benefits it could bring for our trading relations with the countries in the route and beyond, particularly for our exports. Towards this, like we have heard before, various efforts have been made to advocate INSTC as a viable route for flow of goods, and concrete actions have been taken in the past years. For Azerbaijan, since it joined in 2005, Azerbaijan has also made significant contributions to make the project fully operational. Azerbaijan's strategic location as a promising transport hub also made it a natural partner in this important connectivity project. According to the government of Azerbaijan, it has taken concrete steps to operationalize the INSTC, and some of these include construction of an 8.3-kilometer railway line connecting Astara towns in Azerbaijan and in Iran, same name, and also building a railway bridge over a river called Astara Chai. It also constructed 1.4 kilometers lines of railway bridge over from the Astara River to the cargo terminal in Iran. This has already been completed. It is still constructing a railway station, a 35-hectare railway station in Astara on the Iranian side, and other terminals for unloading cargoes. Besides this, it is also building 4 terminals for handling oil, grains, a terminal for processing containers in a general purpose terminal. The capacity of this route terminal is presently at 5 million tons, which could be increased to 10 million tons. And as speakers before me had said, it envisages to be increased even up to 20 to 25 million tons in the future. Now, Azerbaijan is also closely collaborating with Iran in building what we often term as the missing link in the Ras-Astara sector of around 167 kilometers. That is a very key component of the railway line connecting Bandar Abbas to Baku. The benefits of the full operationalization of INSTC have been brought out through studies and dry runs, as we've heard before, which have been conducted in the past. As previous speakers have mentioned, the estimates have revealed that as much as 30% of in terms of cost, transportation costs, and up to 40 to 50% in terms of time savings could be accrued in the route between India and Russia. For those of us in the India-Azerbaijan space, because I'm saying this because some of our colleagues, some of our business colleagues in Baku have joined today's meeting. The segment of INSTC between the two countries will also have proportional savings on transportation costs and time. And this will make our exports more competitive in the market. From the bilateral perspective, INSTC occupies a very high priority in bilateral interactions between our two countries, India and Azerbaijan. Since much of our $1 billion bilateral trade turnover is contributed by Azerbaijan's crude oil exports to India, which is being exported to mainly through a pipeline in Turkey, the present dependency of our trading relations on the INSTC may not look very significant. However, if we look at the statistics of Azerbaijan for the last 5 years or so, our exports have grown from $35 million in 2015 to $136 million in 2019. And therefore, there is therefore a much more robust and efficient transport system between India and Azerbaijan could deliver a lot more and diversify trading relations. Presently, India's export by surface transport to Azerbaijan are mostly brought in through 2 ports, namely Bandar Abbas in Iran and Poti in Georgia. The time taken and cost combined with transshipment time and cost by trains or trucks from these 2 ports presently can be far more competitive with the operationalization of INSTC. In fact, many of our exporters who I have met in the last 1 year have identified the present cost and time taken for transportation of goods from India to Azerbaijan as the main obstacle for increasing our exports to the country. INSTC can change this, and therefore, like what Ambassador Verma had said, every effort must be made to operationalize. It's the obvious possibility. Going forward, I fully agree with what the speakers before me had said. I think it is very important that we keep the process moving by having more interactions between various stakeholders. This is one very good platform. I would fully support what Ambassador Verma had proposed for our embassy in Moscow to organize in the later part of this year. We need to activate MOUs which are signed between key players. For example, the one between the Mumbai Port Trust and Baku International Sea Trade Port in May 2018. I don't know if much has happened on that. And the Coordination Council meetings and expert group of INSTC should also meet regularly. As we have heard before, 2 meetings were planned in Baku. The expert group meeting was planned in March, and the Coordination Council meeting was planned in April. We did reach out to, after we heard about this meeting today, we did reach out to the Ministry of Transport, Communications and Higher Technology. That is what it is called here. The main ministry responsible for INSTC in Azerbaijan. And not much have happened since April, but we have requested them to reactivate the process so that the meeting could take place as soon as we are through with this pandemic. So therefore, I think it is very important that all parties continue to drive this process by taking renewed efforts and interest to see to it that the meetings, all these meetings takes place, either even virtually or otherwise at the earliest possibility. To all the stakeholders who are present here, I wish to say that me and my team at the Embassy of India in Baku are at your disposal for any issues connected with connectivity, INSTC, or on India-Azerbaijan relations. We thank you for your interest in this important initiative and hope to remain in touch with all of you. Once again, thank you for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Vana. A lot of those inputs, a lot of to do things for us also, and we do look forward to your taking numbers of specific initiatives that you will mentioned about. So that will be a very key component for us once the things start settling in India also, because we already have this drafted. What all needs to be done in terms of our engagement with the region, especially for promoting this very critically important corridor for our reach and our engagement with the region. Since we are fortunate to have all the stakeholders present today, we would quickly request Mr. Shankar Shinde, the Chairman-elect, Federation of Freight Forwarders Association of India, to make a quick intervention. So, Mr. Shinde, over to you, and we would request you to be very precise. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. First of all, good afternoon to all. Thanks, Vicky, to organize this session. Your Excellence, Indian Ambassador to Russia, Shri D.B. Venkatesh Vermaji. And we just heard the Indian Ambassador to Azerbaijan, Mr. B. Vanlal Varna. At the same time, under whose guidance this whole INSTC project is being conducted, Mr. D.B. Swain, a great thanks to you for guidance from time to time. Thanks, Vicky. Mr. Manish Singhal has given a complete detailing about the trade exchange between these countries. We have heard a lot on far as commercials and trade is concerned. FFA did conducted the project of dry run on the INSTC in the year 2013, and which report was submitted in 2014 with a detailing as to what are the shortfalls on the reports. Going ahead, first of all, let me congratulate the team who has been working together for the development on this INSTC route. Yes, if you ask me, there is a potential, and not only potential, huge potential, which is an untapped market. And with this COVID situation, India is not looked as an optional market, but it is by choice, which the international has been identifying India as a market. So let us move ahead. Instead of pointing out the shortfalls, we should say what is available and how we can activate with the availability of the existing infrastructure. There are both the aspects of the routes. One is the existing and what is the requirement. So let us drive with the policy with the existing infrastructure, and while working on this route, we can surely look forward, a way forward as to what is the further requirement. At the juncture, we should look forward to activate with the major stakeholders participating from the trade and logistics service providers with the support from the respective government at Iran side, Indian side and Russian side, which we have been always getting this support. During the previous seminars, we did submit the major issues that we considered, and that has been addressed from time to time. for the success of this logistics, the most important aspect are the connectivity and the availability of the transport system, along with the lower cost and the lesser time with the safety, security, and seamless movement, which is the most important aspect of the whole INSTC success. With the development of the new consortium between RZD Logistics in the Russian Railways and Indian Railways, the Concur, the major stakeholders, we are sure proud that 60% of the problems on this route has been sorted out, because initial stage there was the availability of the containers, which Concur has come forward and providing the containers on this route. And jointly with this rail coming, we will have a single window logistics concept on this INSTC route, which was missing. The accession to the TIR, which has shown the seriousness of Indian interest in the development of FFA along with FICCI, have effected one shipment under this TIR, which was effected to Afghanistan. And that was a great success. And I would like to congratulate FICCI with regard to this implementation and look forward for promoting this TIR. And now we would like to further work on the ETIR. Yes, some of the aspects which I would like to make down here. We have the ceilings from India, but with a very limited CIMATEC and IRISIL which is operating, and we should look how we can have this consistent ceiling. But IRISIL with Kalantri calling and CIMATEC, yes, we have the calling for the Chabar port, which is the Indian developed port. Bandar Abbas, we do have regular callings, but with the sanctions, we need to take a call how we can activate a Chabar, which is a very near vicinity, and how we can have the easy access by road or by rail to the Amirabad or the Bandar Anzali on the Caspian Sea. So with the vessel operators, we should look how we can provide these regular sailings. Presently, we do have IDBI Bank and the UCO Bank who have come forward, and we are guiding the trade with the conferences held along with the trade, how they can come forward and help with regard to remittance and payments to the trade. So these are some of the important aspects which we need to do, and we are confident that even maintaining at par with the pricing, the trade should be able to adapt shipments to INSTC route, being advantage over the transit time, and would see the opportunity for alternate agro products, which are the main Indian-based products. Thank you. With this, I would like to close and thank all the participants on this forum. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shinde. We have to do some specific input. That's why your presence was really important for us. Now we have Mr. G. Ravi Kumar, who is the Executive Director for Distribution Logistics and Containers Corporation of India Limited. Mr. Kumar, we would request your information, a very short, very precise matter, which we like to have some time for Q&A. Thank you so much.
My warm greetings to respected BB Swain sir, FICCI, and His Excellency Ambassador Moscow and Ambassador Azerbaijan. And I don't want to take much time. Basically, I want to tell that we have conducted the two trade meetings, one in Mumbai and another at Delhi in the February, and a lot of enthusiasm among the traders. We have enlisted around 60 traders in both the places. They are ready to give me every day around 10 to 15 containers as a volume. As you may be knowing that Concur is running every day to both Navasheva port and Mundra port, around 20 trains every day from Delhi area we are running. So for me to accumulate 10 to 15 containers every day is not at all a problem. And then transporting it to the Iran is also, we got a scheduled services are there, as Mr. Shinde was mentioning, the Iranian service as well as CIMATEC. So we can continuously feed the containers to Iran port, designated port, either it is the Chabahar or it is the Bandar Abbas, whichever the one which is suiting to the RJD logistics. I can give a continuous feed. And as per the RJD logistics, once I give 90 containers, they will be able to run as a block train. Once they run as a block train, the costing wise also it is cheaper, and also they will be able to take it in within the free time, which we have agreed upon that. So we are inducting around 1,000 containers into the INST circuit, and the rates are also worked out. If we can fine tune the rating, And we are start, once we announce the date, we are ready to start within a 10 to 15 days time. And we got a container, we got a services, and also we got a tie-up to take it up to the Iran port. Should not be a problem. So what I request Swain sir is that, sir, now we are having a convention here with Bangladesh where I can run, coastal services can go to the foreign country like Bangladesh. The same is extended to the any of the Chabaha port, for example, sir. So we are already having on west coast around 10 coastal ships are flying between Gujarat to the Tamil Nadu, and it is easier for us, sir, once to go to the Iran port, which is hardly 1.5 day time from the Mundra port. If that can be done, sir, today instead of depending upon the SEMA Tech and the Iranian thing, because they keep changing the rates. Well, sometimes it will be around $800, sometimes it will be around $700, and all of a sudden they say around $1,100 for 20-foot containers. So that price control, which is very, very important, can be controlled if the government of India, Swain sir, can do some sort of the canvassing for that. We will be able to extend the coastal services to the Iran. And as the Kankar is running the 2 vessels in the west coast, my vessels can take, apart from the container, I can give a scheduled services. So, and whatever the service agreement we have signed is that my responsibility to the Indian exporter is end to end, door to door. I pick up and I am responsible for them to take till it is served at the destination, say Warchino. So whatever, maybe we'll have a real tracking through our, we got IT systems are there, and we will be able to exchange with RJD, and I can give on my Kankar website the real location of the container where it is transiting it. In the same way, we RJD also will be a single entity will be responsible for the export of the containers from the Russia to India. So that is the one which is a big boost for this trade on INSTC. And one more thing I wanted to share. Earlier, Kankar was not having the MTO license. Now I can issue, we obtain the MTO license, I can issue the BL on end-to-end basis. So this BL, now many of my traders were asking me, can it be negotiated in Iran or Azerbaijan? Not required, because once I issue the BL, and with the ITR convention, this BL is valid for end-to-end. They can, in India itself, they can negotiate with any of the banks. So what we require is immediately after this, maybe within 10 days, we require a meeting at Swain sir's level, calling both the industry and the banks and RJD and Kankar. We can have 1 or 2 rounds. Once we're able to tie up with the banking, then definitely, sir, we are sure that every month we'll be able to run to 3 to 4 trains from Iran to the Moscow. That much definitely we got a volume which we are assessed. And the second point is that many of my customers are asking, they have got a destination, say in the Baku or Almaty or for Kazakhstan. For that, at present, we don't have any rates worked out. So what we require is, apart from RJT Logistics, ADY Express and RAI also can be roped into this platform. And for the shorter destinations, they will be able to give it from Iran. I will be taking up to the Iran. From there, Iran, whatever the routes, other routes of INSTC also, the players like the ADI Express and the RAI also, if you can pitch in, then we will be able to give the good volumes. And as it is mentioned, we can scale up whatever today what is happening. To scale up is that not only the RJT Logistics and other players also can come and sign an agreement with us, definitely we will be able to serve it. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kumar, for your information. Now we will request Ms. Kirillova Grigoyeva, Project Manager for Export Logistics, GSC.
Rohit, can I come in for a minute? Just a minute.
Yes.
This Swain, can I come in for a minute?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please.
I'm sorry, ma'am. Just give me a minute. I have to intervene because I have to leave for another meeting. I just wanted to say that we are more than willing to participate in His Excellency Ambassador Verma's proposition. In December, I think, if Vicky is willing, yes, we would like to definitely tie up with them, tie up with the embassy, and maybe hold a proper stakeholder kind of a conference in Moscow, So thank you so much, His Excellency Burma, for the offer. The second one was regarding Mr. Ravi Kumar's request. Yes, I will be more than willing. In fact, there's a very good, I think, result of this particular webinar that Mr. Ravi Kumar has come up with this idea. I'm quite sure we'll take it forward. Maybe next week, let us meet and let us try to take it forward with the banks and all, and how to sort it out. So I'll take my leave from all the dignitaries and all the participants. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving me.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. Thank you so much. Now, would request Ms. Lugiella, the project manager for Export Logistics GSW, the Russia Export Center, to make the intervention.
Добрый день. Спасибо большое, уважаемые коллеги, за приглашение выступить на таком серьезном и важном семинаре, который посвящен развитию международного транспортного коридора Север-Юг.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Thank you for having invited me to such a serious and important seminar, which is devoted to the development of so important international Southeast transport corridor.
Индия, Индия, как и Россия, как и Иран, как и Азербайджан, являются активными участниками коридора Север-Юг и совместно работают в рамках развития этого коридора, чтобы предлагать нашим клиентам, нашим экспортерам лучшие логистические сервисы.
India, like Iran, Azerbaijan, and Russia, are active participants of this INSTC corridor. They are working jointly to develop this project to suggest better services to logistic companies and freight forwarders.
Международные транзитные перевозки являются для России одной из основных статей экспорта транспортных услуг, и нам поставлена задача к 2024 году нарастить экспорт транспортных услуг до 28 миллиардов долларов США. Такой показатель заложен в национальном проекте «Международная кооперация и экспорт».
International transport forwarding is one of the main parts of in the Russian structure of the export of services. By the year of 2024, a task was set to increase the export of transport services to $28.18 billion US. This target is mentioned in the Russian federal project Export of Services of the National Project International Cooperation and Export.
Международный коридор Север-Юг – это важнейший коридор общей протяженностью 7200 километров от Санкт-Петербурга до порта Мумбаи, Индия, который связывает через территорию России страны Южной и Юго-Восточной Азии и Европы. А также в этом коридоре заключено межгосударственное соглашение, участниками которого являются все наши страны.
The INSTC is a long route. Its length is over 7,200 kilometers. It goes from St. Petersburg in Russia to the port of Mumbai in India, and it interconnects the territories of Russia, South Asian countries, Southeastern Asian countries, and the countries of Northern and Western Europe.
Коридор имеет 3 маршрута. Западный через территорию Азербайджана и Ирана, восточный через территорию Казахстана, Туркмении и Ирана и транскаспийский через порты Каспийского моря.
This international North-South transport corridor has 3 sub-routes. The western one goes through Azerbaijan and Iran. Another one, eastern, goes through Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, and Iran. And there is another one which goes through the Caspian Sea.
Развитие коридора Север-Юг позволяет организовать доставку грузов через железнодорожную и внутреннюю сеть России, также через российские порты на Каспии, в страны Персидского залива, Индию и обратном направлении.
The development of this transport corridor allows to organize delivery of cargoes through the international and domestic railway system of Russia to countries of Persian Gulf and South Asia, and also to the reverse direction.
Мы рассчитываем на активное совместное развитие этого коридора для того, чтобы предоставлять нашим экспортерам лучшие логистические сервисы. И конкурентоспособность коридора север-юг подтверждается наличием преимуществ по основным характеристикам, таким как расстояние и время, потраченное на перевозку груза.
We account for the joint development of this INSTC. Its competitiveness is very promising because it allows us to provide better services to logistics companies and cargo forwarders. And последнее предложение.
Таким как расстояние и время, затраченное на перевозку груза. Для сравнения, перевозка груза из Мумбаи до Санкт-Петербурга через Суэцкий канал занимает около 30 суток при расстоянии 14,5 тысяч километров, а по коридору север-юг около 14 дней.
And also, this route is very profitable in the terms of time saving and better, shorter distances. For example, the route from St. Petersburg to Mumbai port through the Suez Channel takes about 30 days and is 14.5 thousand kilometers long. But if we go through INSTC, it will take only 14 days.
Двукратное сокращение протяженности маршрута и времени формирует условия для экономической эффективности коридора.
Halving the length of the route and saving the time on transportation creates the conditions for the better economic efficiency of the INSTC.
Также странам, не имеющим выхода к морю, таким как, например, Узбекистан, Таджикистан, очень важны новые транспортные коридоры, и они делают многое для их развития. В рамках Ашхабадского соглашения начато формирование субрегионального транспортного коридора Россия, Казахстан, Узбекистан, Туркменистан, Иран, Оман, Индия.
This INSTC route is very promising for those countries which don't have access to the sea. For example, Uzbekistan and Tajikistan taking many actions to develop this new transport corridor.
Россия, Казахстан, Узбекистан, Туркменистан, Иран, Оман, Индия. Также есть планы по строительству трансафганских коридоров для выхода к южным морям, и достигнута договоренность по продлению железнодорожной магистрали Хайратон-Мазари-Шариф до афганского города Герат, что позволит сформировать новый транспортный коридор с выходом на иранские и индийские железные дороги и к портам Чах-Бахар и Гвадар в рамках проекта «Север-Юг».
As part of the Ashgabat Agreement, the formation of the Russia, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Iran, Oman, India sub-regional transport corridor has begun. There are also plans to build trans-Afghan corridors to access the southern seas. An agreement has been reached to extend the Hayraton-Mazar-i-Sharif railway line to the Afghan city of Herat, which will form a new transport corridor with access to the Iranian and Indian railways and to the ports of Chabahar and Gwadar as part of the North-South project.
В развитии международных транспортных коридоров с участием Индии, Ирана и других стран есть для России актуальные перспективы. Развитие логистических сервисов по этим коридорам при участии российских логистических операторов даст нам прирост грузопотоков и экспорта транспортных услуг и увеличит возможности участия российских компаний в работе международных транспортных рынков.
There are actual prospects for Russia in the development of the international transport corridors with the participation of India, Iran, and other countries. The development of logistics services along these corridors with the participation of Russian logistics operators will create increase of the export of transport services and the increase the opportunities for Russian companies to participate in the international transport markets.
Уверена, что такие вебинары, такие совещания, как наша сегодняшняя встреча, даст новый импульс развитию коридора Север-Юг. Мы готовы к сотрудничеству. Спасибо за внимание.
I am very sure that such meetings as we have today will push the development of international transport corridors. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much.
Spasiba, Ms. Kirilova. Now we request Ms. Irina Bekunova, the head of Multimodal Transportation Department, Anand Logistics, to speak on.
Good afternoon, dear ladies and gentlemen. Namaste. Thank you. First of all, thank you very much I'd like to thank the Indian Embassy for this invitation and for this wonderful opportunity to discuss INSTC with all major stakeholders. As the company within Russian Railways Holding, we always highlight the fact that INSTC is a key priority for us, and not only because we are the official operator of INSTC nominated by Russian Railways, but also as His Excellency said, this is a viable project. Indeed, it is a viable project. If we look at the statistics of INSTC, mainly with cargo connection with Iran and Azerbaijan, we see the growth. In 2018, we have around 5 million tons of cargo moving just by rail, again via INSTC in connection with Iran and Azerbaijan. In 2019, we have already 7.5 million tons moving by rail in connection with Iran and Azerbaijan. Together with logistics operators nominated by the railway administrations of the countries like Iran and Azerbaijan, we do single container moves from India, and we've been doing it for more than 3 years right now, single container moves from India to Russia. However, as you know, we have signed a commercial agreement with one of the largest container operators in India, Concor. Mr. Ravi Kumar has already indicated that there were some road shows organized by Concor back in Mumbai and Delhi back in February. And both Indian shippers and Russian stakeholders understood the importance and understood that behind this project there are reliable operators, Concor from Indian side and Russian Railways Logistics from Russian side. So together with our strategic partner Concor, we are working on launching a reliable and regular container service that will move cargo from India to Russia and from Russia to India. So hopefully by end of this year, we'll launch it with rates, container block trains, and the technology that will take into consideration the business needs of the stakeholders both in India and Russia. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Yes, sorry, Ms. Begunov.
Yes, if you have any questions, I'll send my contact details and our presentation shortly afterwards.
That'd be wonderful. That'd be wonderful. So thank you so much. With this, we have come to the conclusion. Any specific questions that all the participants might be having, or else what we can do is we'll just compile all the questions which are being sent across to us, and we'll share it with the relevant distinguished panelists who have to join us for today's engagement. And once again, on behalf of Federation of Indian Chamber of Commerce Industry, PT, we would like to thank Mr. Varma, Mr. Bhavna, and all the distinguished speakers who have taken out time to join us for discussing and deliberating what actually holds in terms of the possibilities and how effectively this INSTC can be operationalized in the coming times once we're out from this endemic This is going to give us a very clear-cut agenda for us to just work on the possibilities and create a final framework of engagements and deliberations in the coming months. So once again, thank you so much. With these words, we once again thank you all our panelists and our ambassadors for joining us today. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so very much for all the delegates joining. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you to all the panelists and thank you, Rohit. And
thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Chandra.
participants.
Spasiba.